All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Exit Is Now podcast with me, your host, Scott Snyder. Again, broadcasting live here from the Exit Planning Summit, where I have award-winning SEPA Joe Situ with me today. So welcome, Joe.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, he yesterday during our Excellence in Exit Planning Award won Member of the Year. He's been nominated a couple of times, so he finally got the big win.
Got over the finish line.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Scott.
Can you talk to us about what you're doing in the EPI community? A lot of the stuff, the Member of the Year for our audience. The Member of the Year really goes to somebody that's heavily involved in the EPI community, gives back to the EPI community, works with business owners, works with advisors. And Joe, honestly, you're doing a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, thanks. It's got involved in the SEPA designation in 2018. I became an owner of my firm in 2014.
Okay.
And so for me, it was a story of, it's funny. I actually spoke with your father. I think you were there, like 2016 when Melissa was launching that chapter for LA.
Oh, yeah.
And really got inspired after becoming an owner of my business and being a financial planner. And I understand estate and tax and financial planning, and just the aspect of that going through it inspired me to realize that a lot of the professionals, I think the financial advisors, need to step up their game to have more of an impact in their owners' lives. Because, and again, what we've seen with COVID, with what's changing the economy, it is so critical that owners are getting the support they need. And so that's really what fueled me to then launch the chapter in 2020 in the Conejo Valley, a second chapter in Los Angeles, which we have. It's going strong. We meet every month. We're doing a lot of
number
panels.
one chapter in the network right now.
Yeah, I think so. I've converted us to a fee-paying model, which I know I think keeps you happy. But it's what I find about Los Angeles is it's such a collaborative community that actually naturally is an extension of another group I'm involved with called Provisors.
Right. I see a lot of this posted on your LinkedIn.
Yeah. So it really helps, I think, in many ways. To the concepts of exit planning with many of those professionals, sort of refine who the audience is and really move that forward. So much so that then even at our company, we've created a flat fee offering for, because for most financial advisors, right, the idea is assets under management,
right,
which works for, owners who've already had the liquidity event.
Yeah.
Problem is for most owners, right, their network's tied up in their business.
Exactly.
And many of them don't think that they need a financial planner, that they're not qualified to have a financial planner. Right. It's like, I'll do it later. I don't know how many times I've heard that. I'm like, we've got to figure out a better model.
Yeah.
So much so that, again, Mike and my team and I, we crafted, again, a flat fee model for our clients that we're working with, where we can help be the quarterback. We can bring in the team. We can bring in a business coach.
Love it.
Coordinate the valuation, quantify the wealth gap, and then fill in the pieces of the puzzle that you need for the transition team to have a successful exit.
Well said. See, for the audience too, that are fellow SEPAs, he's dropping all the lines with the gaps and everything. So I like that. But tell me, you're also a fellow podcaster. So tell me about your podcast. Right before we kind of started the show, you talked about having a theme of interviewing young entrepreneurs. I think that's cool. And I'm a follower of your podcast. You've had me on the podcast. So kind of talk to me about that a little
bit. So we're I called it the Ripcord moment. I wanted to come up with this concept of, again, for most owners, unless you're a serial entrepreneur, which like you are, but many owners, it's like a once in a lifetime event.
Sure.
Now, I've gone skydiving. I've only done it once. Yeah. And this idea of like, who's packing your parachute? That ripcord cannot fail because you just don't get another chance for many owners. There's no do-over.
Right.
Coupled with the fact that like you are flooded with so many emotions. So that sort of inspired me on the theme of the podcast.
Yeah.
In the first season, I did a lot of owners who had exits, the good, bad, and the ugly. Second season were more the professionals. In the third season, I started thinking around, okay, what other theme can I bring to the table? And with what we were going with COVID and the changing labor markets and everything, I was like, let's focus on the young entrepreneurs and just get sort of their life stories around what it's like being, a new parent, trying to run a business, trying to deal with, growing a company, dealing with the personal finances. So while it wasn't so much on the exit itself, it's more on all of the things that lead up to it, the journey.
Absolutely.
And we had you were on it.
Yeah.
We actually had a couple of really interesting startup companies.
You have access probably to a lot being out in California like that too.
Yeah.
That's got to be kind of cool.
I had a father-son duo.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we talked about their dynamics. So more so, the son had left Google. And sort of the things that he had to go through with his wife on coming up with an agreement on what that looked like.
Yeah,
I mean, you know the dynamics of a father-son.
So the theme of this year's summit is the evolution of exit planning. And now as an award-winning SEPA, you're going to get a bunch of people looking for your insights. So not to put you on the spot, but Where do you think it's going? You heard Chris talk about it in his keynote yesterday. We talked young entrepreneurship. We're seeing 43% of the market now owned by people between 36 years old and 56 years old.
Yeah.
Where do you think the next big thing, what's the next big impact, is now a leader, certainly a leader in the EPI community?
Well, I think you guys are leading the way on it. I think it has become, and I like structure and process. I think the idea of team concept, having sort of this process, the idea of the end in mind already.
Yep. Yes.
That where I think the baby boomer generation, like it's more like they've stumbled through it.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
As we've grown as an organization and as a community and as they've grown, I think a lot of the lessons learned around having optionality.
Right.
As you go through it, and that it's not just this event that happens way out in the future.
Yeah.
Bring it back into the present, like Chris
exactly.
said yesterday. I think that what's going to happen with AI is certainly really interesting around those kind of dynamics. So certainly it's going to be exciting to be part of.
Yeah. Well, I think that to kind of what you're saying, I think the younger entrepreneur, you might have a lot of like boomerangers, right? Where you might sell 2 or 3 companies, right? So I think that's interesting.
Yep.
And I think that the big thing for me looking into the future, say that even the next 10 years, that that next generation of business owners just is a little bit more educated on what exit strategy is. And I think it is in part to the growth of the EPI community, the methodology being accepted, and they're younger, right? So now they have more runway. But with that, I appreciate you coming onto the show for a quick few minutes.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back with some more guests on the Exit Is Now podcast. Thanks. Welcome back, everybody, to the Exit Is Now podcast. I got another guest, James Jack from UBS Financial Services. James is also an award-winning SEPA, announced yesterday as Thought Leader of the Year. Also, I feel nominated a couple of times. I think that as a fellow young professional, or young, I guess, I don't know how you feel about it these days.
Changing every day.
Yeah, changing every day. I would say that I think your work so obviously young guy in a small organization, young guy in a large organization. I think that your work since you landed at UBS, 2018? Well, I guess you've been there.
I've been there. I've been here at UBS my whole career for 18 years.
Okay.
But we decided to create the business owners clients segment in 2018. So I moved from my prior life as a banker and lender, to create this group. So yeah, we've been going hard, and thank you for having me.
Yeah,
first of all, thank you, and appreciate the nomination.
Oh, absolutely, nomination and the winner, Thought Leader of the Year. So I think that watching and being able to hang out with you, watching you grow even the business owner segment, we've gone from
we've had a good time.
I feel to 6 people and traveling all over the world. Can you just talk about that? Because I think it's quite impressive. UBS also being the first major financial institution to say, hey, I'm all in on helping business owners, and we're going to make a huge effort in getting our people educating, getting the right tools, getting the right content, and really supporting lower middle market business owners in the U.S. And you had a huge hand in that. So can you talk about that experience and that evolution?
Absolutely. And thank you for recognizing that. UBS has been around for 160 years in the United States and Europe. In the United States, it was with Paine Webber. And so wealth is created through entrepreneurship, especially in the United States. All of those entrepreneurs left Europe and they took that gene pool with them and brought it here. We're not a dynastic wealth country like most of Europe is and much of Asia. So to build wealth, you got to do it mostly through business ownership. And all the statistics prove that if you look at the Fed studies. So that's kind of like the why. And it's really glaringly obvious. What the thing is, I'd say, is most in our industry would wait until after the event, after the liquidity event, to help them. And at that point, you've missed a lot of some of the tax planning work. You've missed you can do a lot more from a philanthropic standpoint. And then all the things that you guys talk about at EPI, about the emotional journey, about regret, you can do a much better job. I think we all can if we're getting in front of that. It may not be exactly that UBS is doing 100% of those things, but we're a team process. We're part of a team. And so that's the understanding that built it and why we wanted to do it. And how it came to fruition at UBS is it started in the field with advisors. Everything at UBS is about our financial advisors. They drive everything. So it's some advisors started saying, I want to do this. This is how I'm building my practice. They learned about EPI. They went and took it themselves. Said, hey, even if I can't use the designation, let me just go and learn.
Yeah, really
and
early.
And they took a risk, and so that started kind of building up, through the grassroots, and that's when they said, we need to do this. We need to connect it with what we're doing at UBS, and so much of the EPI curriculum aligns perfectly with UBS's private wealth management standpoint. So family advisory, advanced planning, the investment banking, of course, wealth management in general, that's what we do. But all of those other things, we bring those services to wealthy families. And so it aligned really, really nicely. And so when it came to finally like, hey, we should get this approved, it actually wasn't too terribly difficult because it aligned.
It did.
Then you just had to get through some of the stasis issues that many big organizations have.
Of course.
But once we got going, about a year in, Chris and I, we joke about my LinkedIn says I'm the evangelist, and
very unique.
And we went on a barnstorm. We went around the country and we talked to hundreds of advisors who were recognized as being strong builders of businesses, and said, "This is what's important. You should think about it." And from there,
it just went.
Yeah.
And you guys are developing all kinds of cool content and tools, and I think just your segment specifically does a really nice job of supporting your UBS CPAs. And so you should be commended for that.
Thank you.
That for people that in the field coming back to EPI saying, man, James and his group, I don't know if we could do it without them. So talk about too, one of the things that you added this year, right? I feel like your title gets longer and longer too, right? Like one of the things that you added this year was multi-generational. So can you just kind of talk about what that means, and that now that's another group that you're kind of overseeing?
So at UBS, we built a strategic client segments organization to build resources, thought leadership, products, and solutions for that particular client and the advisors that support them. Traditionally, wealth managers say, how many assets do you have with us? And then we'll figure out what we do. And of course, that's a critical way to do it. And we started with business owners and women. And since then, we've added athletes and entertainers, multicultural investors, and rising gen, and that has since evolved to what we call multi-gen. And so this year I was privileged to expand my role, to take that on. And so the big focus there, and it really aligns nicely with business owner stuff, is how are families transferring and transitioning? Two different verbs, meaning different things.
Fair.
Some, you talk to an estate attorney, they're going to talk about all about the transfer, all the different acronyms, and get that money out. But that doesn't prepare the next generation. And the next generation doesn't have to be 20 years old or 30 years old. It could be a 60-year-old person who is G2 and is, stepping up to either he or she taking over, particularly with these businesses, right? And so how are we doing that and thinking that through? And it aligns nicely with business, particularly baby boomers. They are worried about trust fund babies. Sudden wealth being created is going to change their families. And so how does that come into play? What changes in the family post a business? A friend of mine used to talk about how a family business was a campfire and we were all around it. When that campfire is extinguished, what replaces it? Yeah. Is it philanthropy? Is it a new business? So we talk about all of those things already in the business owner segment. So it's just taking it to the next level, I think, about, any kind of family of means, how they prepare their inheritors for being a steward of wealth and having a legacy.
I really like the campfires thing.
Yeah,
totally honest.
Take that. It's yours.
I'm gonna use that for sure.
Well, I know you. So it's the campfire in front of the RV.
Yeah, right. See, that's really relatable to me. Like we're going literally to the Indy 500 after this.
I know it.
There will be campfires.
I saw the prep. They were doing the practice runs and stuff like that last weekend, and I thought of you immediately.
We're super excited about it. But the other thing I wanted to ask you, which has been like I would say the loose theme of the summit this year, certainly a big topic with Chris, as we saw Chris on the main stage, this evolution of exit planning. And certainly you've always been a thought leader. Now as an award winner, you'll at least spend the next 12 months with people just blowing your emails up with questions. But what is not to put you on the spot or anything, but it's what's on your mind as we look to the next 5 or 10 years? We got Walking to Destiny 2 out. The group has grown. Where do you think exit planning is going? What's next for for the profession, the owner? What's on your mind?
Well, in the immediate aftermath, my hat size went from 7 3/4 to an 8. So, that's the first thing. I'm just kidding. Actually, one of the things your dad said in his remarks yesterday was, the number of businesses, right? And he talked about baby boomers and the amount there he had, but he also said, hey, there's these Gen Xers, and they have a bunch of businesses too, and they're now, about 50 years old. And the survey data indicates that they don't want to wait to 65. They might want to do it around 55.
Exactly.
And so, I was thinking, and I said I was sitting next to a UBS advisor who is of Generation X. And, we were like, wow, just we've all been kind of stuck on baby boomers and that, like, I think in particular because of COVID, we've been in kind of in our own world. And if you take a quick breath, actually now, like the world has changed since I got my SEPA in 2018. So that's right. There's been the perpetual 5-year business owner cycle that you always see in statistics, and you're getting now to the next generation. So I think that's going to play a lot more of an impact, and certainly you're going to see some acceleration. I think what will happen this next year, maybe short term, is how has the M&A environment been altered due to a pending recession, rising rates? Right. Did people miss their opportunity? I think, things will come back just because of the nature, and which is what your dad said is, people are hitting the time. It's going to happen. So that's, I think, the very short term. But as we get to longer term, towards your question, those generation shifts will become much more apparent. Boomers will really be out of in the smaller portion of it. Gen X will take up, and then we'll start talking about millennials and what businesses they've been building now. In 10 years, many millennial businesses might be 7 to 15, 20 years old at that point. And they might be contemplating family transition or an exit. So, at the end of this decade, that's going to be, because the transfer of wealth that will happen from boomers down, then the next phase will be how do they begin to plan that?
Yes, I always think it's interesting. I had Joe C2 on right before you jumped up too, and we talked about something similar when we first. And you heard me on stage talking about this, like reminiscing. When I think back 10 years ago when we put the value acceleration methodology in, or back in 11 years ago when we bought Exit Planning Institute, it was so concentrated on business owners that people would literally ask, "Well, what happens to exit planning once the business owners are gone?" And now we hear, and we teach that exit strategy is business strategy. Frankly, I think one of the hopefully lasting legacies that I can bring is more of a value acceleration centric lifestyle, because it's not just business, right? It's business, personal, and financial. And so I think the next generation of owners are probably going to embrace that more. They've been hearing it now for 10 years, so hopefully they're more educated. But I think it's like exit planning is here to stay, because it just becomes a way of life that we're always coaching and teaching and surrounding the owners with the best advice.
I agree with that. I think business owners, people in general, they're always going to need planning and work. It will change. It will shift. We've got generative AI is the big topic right now, but our business is very much a human business, because you start going into much more emotional things, and so businesses will change and they'll continue, and the entrepreneurial gene, particularly here in the United States, will continue to expand. It will just be different. Yeah. But not only will there be that, but you have all of this wealth that has been created. You'll start seeing families think about, how they can be, like I said, a steward of that wealth and make an impact. Particularly younger generations, you're seeing much more on climate and diversity becoming more important. And, that I think actually for businesses is going to become more and more important, not because, it's a feel good thing, although it is, but it will attract customers. It will attract employees. It will attract suppliers. It will help you satisfy regulatory things. And I think it will attract investors. Absolutely. And so that, I think, is going to be an interesting way that the next generation, younger generation of business owners will tweak how they think about exit planning, and how they integrate that into their value acceleration. Right. So I'm excited for that, because, at UBS, it's a big part of sustainable investing is a big part of what we do. And, I'm a corporate guy. So synergy, you gotta love synergy. Yeah,
you gotta love that.
Synergy is an everyday word. Yeah. So I think that's going to be a really interesting way about how our work changes, because we will attract, it will become almost another kind of intangible that a part of the capitals is how we talk about that. And certain investors, buyers, acquirers are going to love that, and they're going to go for it.
Well, James, I appreciate you hanging out with us on the podcast, and we will see you soon. We're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back with another
Thank you
guest.
For having me.
Thanks.
Yeah.
James.
For business owners, by a business owner. Walking to Destiny is your essential resource for understanding what makes your business highly profitable and significant. It becomes a business owner's handbook to know how to rapidly grow value and ultimately unlock the personal wealth trapped in business. Exit Planning Institute CEO Christopher Snyder demonstrates how strategic exit planning will help you achieve improvements today while positioning you to build wealth for generations. Secure your success along other value creators. Discover, prepare, and decide what your walk to destiny will ultimately be. If executed correctly, these strategies can grow a business owner's wealth by 10 times. Walking to Destiny, the second edition, the 11 actions an owner must take to rapidly grow value and unlock wealth. Get your copy today at www.walkingtodestiny.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Exit Now podcast. I have Joe Strazzeri with us today, the Exit Planner of the Year. So congratulations, my friend.
Oh, God, what an honor yesterday.
Yeah, wasn't it? It is well-deserved, I think, like wildly impactful person inside of our EPI community. And then I think you heard me actually yesterday, I'm actually moving a little bit away from EPI community and saying the exit planning community.
Yes, very much so.
Because I think that folks like you and for many folks inside of the community, it's more than just EPI. It's really all exit planning professionals and having a great impact. So thank you for all you do.
Oh, thank you, guys. It was, now, of course, it was an honor yesterday. Thank you to everybody else, etc. I wasn't prepared to write because I really thought one of my good friends would get it as well.
Yeah.
So that was...
It was a one hell of a nomination between the three, for sure.
It was. And I, on my way up to the stage, there was your friends that grab you along the way and touch you and congratulate you and do. And you and your dad's interaction yesterday, you know that my son is working his way up.
Right.
And it hit me about him. And right as we were walking the stage, you and your dad had this moment together. And my own father, who I lost 20 years ago, ran into me and ran through me. And I just became an emotional mess inside. And I had to start out with, I'm sorry, everybody, I'm going to be a little clumsy.
Yeah. Yeah, you did say that when you came up.
And that's why.
So talk to us about the work that you're doing. I think one of the most fascinating things about you is that you have like many different brands and you have different types of people in each brand that have different expertise. So you could do anything from family governance to estate planning to value advisory work to education. I've always just been super fascinated about the people that you attract and the kind of the breadth of what you do. Can you talk through all of that for us?
Sure. I think it's first for us as entrepreneurs. So let me throw myself in their category for a minute. Before advisor.
That's true.
You kind of look at what is our core discipline, what do we do really, really well? And then you've got to say, what are the ancillary businesses to that? When you do first do it, it's almost everything and it's what you're good at. And at some point you make the leap over, it's what is my team good at?
Right.
So is it in the central wheelhouse of my team? And then it's what do the people that we're servicing need? Whether it's an end user client or it's a center of influence that brings you those clients, what do they need? Right. And is it in our competencies, not yours personally or your partners, but the team's competencies?
Right.
So they can be successful what they do. And then if they're ancillary to it, should it be all in one brand or should it be other brands?
Right.
Now there's licensing issues.
That's true.
So, sure. One of my first ones is being a lawyer. So I'm a general contractor by trade. I hammer nails, go to law school.
Yeah.
I still do land development stuff, not within what you're talking about.
Yeah. Right.
But there's licensing with that and that, but you're allowed to share profits with other people.
Okay.
But once you get into professional licensing, let's say a financial advisor, a CPA, or an attorney, there are rules about what you can do and not do. So you're almost driven to have other brands.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense.
And then it's what is that organization? Your whole organization has some sort of a soul, some sort of what it does, some sort of guiding principles. But then what is its driver? How does it make money? Is it there to support others? And it's not a charitable organization, but a for-loss organization. It's your loss leader organization that does something.
Yes.
And do you have just as much respect for that as you do for the ones that are bringing in business or doing the business or stewarding? So I teased at one of our other presentations, the law has this horrible thing to talk about the elements inside of a business: finding, binding, grinding, and minding.
Yeah.
As roles that lawyers take. And every industry has something like that. But do you have as much respect for all four of those roles? And unfortunately, many organizations have more respect for one role than all of them. It takes them all to do.
So as the Exit Planner of the Year, I was laughing with our other guests too, who are also award winners. The whole community is going to look to you for advice for probably the next 12 months until we're back.
Isn't that sad?
Back in at the next Exit Planning Summit next year. So, as a longtime SEPA, somebody that has embraced value acceleration even before you became a SEPA yourself.
Sure.
What kind of advice do you have for other SEPAs out there that are freshly becoming SEPAs this year, next year, so on and so forth?
I think the first one is find your lane.
Yeah.
So many times people come in and they're attracted to exit planning, they're attracted to the balance of it, and they say, I'm going to become whatever designation, let's say SEPA, and they're going to be then the font of all knowledge.
Right.
In that area.
Right.
And there are so many lanes in helping business owners grow their business, keep their business, work with their own team members, work with their vendors and suppliers and clients, and then also to look at the numbers and then to prepare for an exit. The thing that changed my life in this area yesterday, I capitalized on Sean Hutchinson when he mentioned while introducing your dad, he said, there are moments in your life that attack your career. And I would say there are moments in life that attack your career that are luck and happenstance that if you're really prepared for and you notice, you do well.
Yeah.
And one of those moments for me was when your dad in one class said, good exit planning is great business planning. And it did two things for me. Number one, it took me in the direction of, wait a minute, I'm not trying to have people get rid of their business. It's how do they keep their business really well? And also, if they want to sell it, what does that look like? The second thing it did was for my own business said, hey, silly, way too focused on you. You need to practice what you preach.
It's true. Yeah.
And are you really looking at, and I was petrified. I had a massive heart attack and 6 bypasses at 38. There was no way anybody talked about me about exit because if I die, I die if I exit. So stop that. I'm not abnormal to that. So I think the first part is be able to say, what's my lane? If I'm going to do this, can a business owner is going to smell me out if I try to be an expert in all these things.
Yeah. Exactly.
What's my deep lane? What's my next two side lanes that I'm kind of deep or not? Am I a quarterback? Am I a tax person? Am I a value acceleration? Whatever that is. And identify all the other lanes that there are and get a tribe. Out of all the 15,000 people involved in EPI and all the rest that are involved in exit planning and the 5,000 SEPAs, find a tribe of people that are in your lane that you can talk to each other and say, how you do in your lane?
Yeah. And
find a tribe of people that are in the other lanes next to you that complete you, the yin and yang stuff.
That's such good advice.
We're successful mostly because Steve and I are the yin and yang to each other. My business partner, we love each other like brothers, but we balance each other. And sure, there are years where he kind of takes a lead role in what I thought he was good at and vice versa.
Yeah.
But F&Ts, we kind of stand back to back looking in and out of the firms. So if that's true in your business and you hire people to fill in the places that you're not as good at that are better than you, why not do the same thing with the other advisors? So yesterday we talked about you have the opportunity when you've got these other lanes. You can learn it. You can hire it.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy it or you can partner it. And somebody said, well, how'd you guys grow? And I said, we were punching above our weight class every year. But the way we did it was we found somebody punching at that weight class and we partnered with them and told them, I want to partner with you until I learn this. And I plan on going up another one. Is that cool with you? And that open dialogue had us develop great friends that were our tribe.
That's so true. Yeah, I think building a team building and building, you call building a tribe. It's just, and I actually like the lane analogy, right? Find a lane that you're going to drive in most of the time that you drive deep into.
Yes.
That's their expertise. To your point, you could have one to the left, one to the right that you could be deep in, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's just like a really unique way. I'm gonna take that one from you and probably
Sure,
use
please.
it. I'll make sure to give you credit.
Thank you. I love it when you do that.
You know, but nonetheless,
thank God we're friends.
yeah, right. I would say too, the last thing I want to kind of get your thought on is loosely throughout the last couple of days here at the summit, we've seen this immersion of this theme of the evolution of exit planning, right? Dad's book came out, Walking to Destiny, second edition is out. Another take on exit planning, a revised look at exit planning. We hear a lot about the next generation of business owners. So if you look out at 5 or even 10 years in the exit planning space, what's on your mind? What comes to mind for you?
I would look back first, and something that I mentioned yesterday, 15, 20 years ago and more, entrepreneurs were not looked at with as much care as we are doing now. Mm-hmm. Our industries of legal, financial, and tax looked at these people as type A driven, all sorts of other names and acronyms that weren't pretty. Sure. I think our industries have started to really appreciate the hardworking, salt of the earth, create our economy driven servant leader entrepreneur. And we've drifted more and more into that. Now that respect, I think, is going to continue. Instead of it being they're making money on the backs of others and all these other negative things, we would not have an economy running but for them. And these people take enormous risk and carry a burden on their shoulders every day to take care of their family, take care of their employees, take care of their vendors, take care of the customers. And they do that with a passion. And not many of them get to succeed. And the ones that do aren't the ones that were overnight successes out of their garage. Right. These are people that bled, sweat, and tears, cried to themselves in the bathroom where nobody knew, took on ungodly amounts of stress, almost went out of business, cut checks to make payroll, and took a risk and said to all their team members, if it goes bad, I've got you because you've always had me.
Right.
I think that respect is going to continue. Thank goodness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank goodness. Yeah, I think that's number one. Number two, the industries, EPI driving and a few other organizations way behind that are driving there's a methodology to, you just don't show up to somebody and say, how much I'll hire you. I'll give you a piece. Go get me as much as you can. And it is what it is. It's how do I build an organization instead where I'm faced every year with the decision, do I keep and grow?
Right.
Or do I transition to my family? My employees or executives that are like my family, or to a third party in whole or in part now or in the future, is a different conversation than I'm going to die with my boots on and hopefully sells, or I'm going to sell it before I get my heart attack. There's so much more now, and EPI embraces the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And it draws advisors that embrace the entrepreneur, not as something to get somebody from, but cool people to hang out with and help do the next great thing.
Yeah.
And then this embracing of it isn't about die with my boots on or squeeze the last dollar out, but there are these options of maybe we keep the golden goose for the family. And how do I train that next generation, the conversations your family's having, I'm having, and do they want to or not? And the misunderstandings of underlying fact and misunderstandings of motive in me and motive in my family, these are the conversations that are coming up that change outcomes. Because we're finding the mistake of fact and the misunderstanding or mistake of motive in ourselves and motive in others, because entrepreneurs never had conversations about feelings 20 years ago.
No way.
Give me a break.
Oh yeah, not a chance.
And the idea that I would then be open with my child that thinks I'm the second coming and I do the best thing in the world and I never made a mistake and I never had a failure, to say, no, mine are bigger than yours.
Yeah.
And the only reason I got success is because I worked through my failures and got to this.
I think that is great advice and insights from our exit plan of the year. Well, Joe, congratulations again, and we will see you soon. Folks, thanks for hanging out with us on the Exit Is Now podcast, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.
The Exit Planning Institute is the authority in exit planning. With its award-winning process, the Value Acceleration methodology provides deep insights into how to help business owners create more significant companies while blending and aligning their business, personal, and financial goals. EPI brings together the world's most elite exit planning advisors to form the EPI community. The EPI community represents over 15,000 professional advisors worldwide, including its 5,000 certified exit planning advisors. These advisors include financial advisors, growth consultants, CPAs, attorneys, M&A advisors, amongst others, who come together to expand their knowledge, create and innovate, network and relationship build, grow their practices, and better attract and engage business owner clients. Join EPI today and gain access to the community, content, courses, credential, and conference that you as the professional advisor need in order to harness the opportunity with small to lower middle market business owners who strive to grow a company of significance, thus having a highly valuable and transferable company. Follow the Exit Planning Institute on LinkedIn and visit earnsepa.com to learn more about the community leading the exit planning profession.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Exit Is Now podcast. We're just wrapping up the 2023 Exit Planning Summit. I have Jacqueline with us from our title partner this year, REAG. I've known them for quite a long time. It's the first time that we're partnering in this big of a capacity. Everybody knows probably Scott from their SEPA program as one of our faculty members. I want to welcome Jacqueline to the show. And you played a big, huge role this year, and I think that it's super unique. Most of the EPI community is either a CPA, a financial advisor, or a growth consultant. And when you came aboard, I think that it brings a lot of opportunities. And I was just wanted to know, like, what you thought about the 2023 summit, what's impactful for you, and what's your role that you play with the advisors.
Yeah, I mean, the summit this year was incredible. All the people here, all the education that was put on, all of the different speakers, everyone has made such an impact on these advisors. And it's really showing the work that you guys are putting in there. I mean, everyone is really diving straight into this, which is great. It helps us in the long run. So REAG, M&A advisor, we just want to make sure that we are a resource to everyone that is a SEPA here. We know what buyers are looking for. We understand exactly what they're looking to achieve in an acquisition. And we want to make sure that we're relaying that information to the SEPAs so they're able to make sure that they package up this business and it's ready to go, and we can end up getting maximum value because it's so important not only to the business owner, it's important to their families, it's important to the buyer's family, it's important to the buyer's community, their employees. So it really, the work that's being done here is just absolutely incredible.
Cool. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and I'm super happy to have you guys on board because I think you guys bring this functional specialist that comes in our panel discussion that we had with Scott and his exit options. I think a lot of people think the investment banker comes in that decide gate, not to get too technical, but they come in that decide gate. What I love about REAG is they say, look, no, we're a resource throughout the entire value acceleration methodology. We might get active and our expertise might come in when they actually go to sell their company, but we can be helpful throughout. So I think that you guys have been a great resource. Part of our partnership too is that you guys were really the backbone behind the Excellence in Exit Planning Awards this year, where we saw, honestly, a whole, all 9 nominees for the 3 different awards were pretty high impact advisors. And I think it also is a natural fit for you guys because I think about your firm, I think of high caliber, high impact, and influencer advisors. So any kind of comments that you think from our award winners this year and kind of where we're going for the future?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to say congratulations to all of the award winners, whether they were nominees or they actually won the award. That was an impressive group of people that were mentioned up there. And I'm very proud of them. I think what they're doing is wonderful. And I think it is they are great role models to everyone sitting in this audience, and everyone should be striving to be helping and being a part of the community like they are. So congratulations to everyone out there. And for REIG, I mean, it's just important for us to support that, because we want to be, like I said, a resource to this entire community, whether they're award winners or aspiring award winners. And I just think us aligning ourselves with those winners and supporting them is extremely important to us.
Yeah, thank you. I say that your commitment is strong, and we for the audience, they literally are like in and out. They came to our conference, and then I think Scott flew to Orlando to support the M&A Source conference. Literally, like, flew out at like 8 p.m., landed at 6:30 a.m. and is probably actively at the conference right now. So I'm glad you're hanging out.
10 minutes after he got there.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're. And that is commitment. That's commitment to both industries, right? That's commitment to the exit planning community, the M&A community, and I think that showcases who you guys really are at the firm. So given we're at the end of the show, and we were laughing before we jumped on the air that we're both a little brain dead right now, but given we've just spent 3 long days at the Exit Planning Summit. But I've asked all of our speakers just give a little bit of insights into this evolution of exit planning, or where the market you think is going. Any kind of insights? We heard a lot of that from Chris this week with Walking to Destiny 2.0, a lot of this loosely themed evolution. If you had any insights into the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, what is REIG thinking about?
I mean, we're just hopeful that we can provide as much knowledge of what our little piece of this is, that we can help everyone, help their business owners, help their employees, help everyone, so that this big step in the business owner's life is as smooth and as meaningful, and it's just maximized as easily and as best as it could be whenever they're ready to exit.
I was, when I introduced Scott on stage, I was saying that I think that you guys are very dedicated. We have this thing at EPI, right, from success to significance. And I think that the firm is certainly somebody and a whole company that is dedicated to helping the business owner truly get the most out of their business, while also having that balanced life. So they're not looking back saying, man, I sold my business, but 75% of me, right, or there's 75% of owners actually regret that sale. And I think that you guys play a big role in not having that happen. And I think that is something for the future as well. So Jacqueline, I really appreciate you hanging out. We're going to go over to the after party, hopefully, and have some fun. But we'll see you back on the Exit Is Now podcast here shortly.